Today we're going to be covering the 5 mind hacks to skyrocket your success very quickly. And when you start using these 5 mind hacks, you could literally start to speed up the process of how quickly you can achieve success in your life. So you want to be dedicated and make sure that you study these 5 mind hacks to skyrocket your success to be able to achieve success as quickly as possible and be very dedicated to this process. I'm going to get into these 5 mind hacks. And to get started, why most people stay stuck, common mistakes, and blocking success. So a lot of people are usually stuck because there's 2 reasons, really. The first one is that they really don't know exactly what they should be doing every day to be successful. But at the same time, they're exposed to an environment where most people are not successful. And at the same time, when they look at people that are successful, they naturally have this limitation of lack of self-belief, lack of self-worth, that they can actually become a successful person like the people they see on TV and so forth. So this is why people get stuck, and they make these mistakes by actually blocking their success, by buying into the fact that they think that they can't do it themselves. So before we get into these 5 mind hacks, I just want to invite you to just click the like button really quick, and then leave a comment on any questions you have about these 5 life hacks to succeed with your life. Just making sure that we can cover any questions that you have, any concerns, and so forth. And even if you're using any one of these particular hacks, and definitely share the video and then subscribe to the channel so you could access more videos like this to really be able to get deeply engaged into these lectures, so you could start to take the notes, apply the steps, and achieve the best version of yourself to be able to achieve a life of success, wealth, and abundance. And again, I'll have videos of myself on camera, but I wanted to create this format because many people have already told me that this particular format is extremely engaging, and I'm able to lecture extremely profoundly and really be able to drive home these points so you could really get the information, which is what it's all about anyway, to making sure that you grab this value and use it in your life rather than worrying about, listening to me speaking to you on a camera, because I honestly really don't see the point of people really speaking on camera the whole time without giving you strong action steps and particular slides like the way I do it here. So then definitely subscribe so you can get access to these other videos and share it with people that you love. So the first hack is the big vision. So the big vision starts with you writing down this large vision for your life, regardless of the fact of how you feel, whether or not you could achieve it, is to write it down, is to give that grandiose vision, the big vision, the biggest home that you want to live in, the cars in the driveway, the beautiful landscaping, the beautiful clothing that you have, the cash flow, the multiple sources of income, the gratitude for the factor of having all these wonderful things. The big vision is where everything begins because you're actually working from the end. So combining that with small wins. So basically you're going to get into alignment with this big vision and draw out the action steps and plans and things that you can do right now today that'll move you towards that big vision. And seeing that end goal is basically the concept behind Neville Goddard, which is basically assuming the wish fulfilled in your imagination. So going into imagination and feeling as if you already have that big vision, seeing it as best as you can, but attaching the feeling to it that it's already there. And when you see that end goal, you're sending that energy, that vibration out to the 4th dimension, which is where it's actually being created in that moment. And while it's being created, it ultimately, by law, has to come into the 3rd dimension, which is your physical experience. And as you're doing these small wins and taking these little action steps each day, the best steps you feel that you could take today to move towards that big vision. And this is why you want to have mentors like myself that can kind of guide you in the process of what you do at the early stages of moving towards your vision, of being able to know what it takes to build momentum and be able to start building confidence in yourself and in your money starting to work for you, where you can start building out multiple streams of income and getting that excess capital to build it into even more streams and even larger opportunities for you to get that ultimate life. And being able to celebrate this progress. So when you have this big vision, you're not going to really just get hard on yourself because you didn't achieve it within a year or within a time frame that's unrealistic, but even tiny little wins, tiny little action steps that you see that you've found that you accomplished, and taking note of that, celebrating that progress, because all progress is good progress. And now in hack number 2 is to reverse engineer your goals. So you want to plan backwards for clarity. So reverse engineering your goals is simply just taking a look at that big vision and then figuring out how you would achieve it. So mapping out the particular goals that you're going to accomplish in your vision, and then the steps to be able to get there. So planning it all out is kind of like drawing out that entire picture. It's like a 30,000 foot view where you can see the whole thing. You can see where you are, you can see your ultimate vision, and you can see how you're going to get there. And of course plans change. So it's not like it's a concrete plan, but it's a blueprint. And from there, when you have it mapped out, then you could start taking steps. And as you start working towards one particular step, like starting a business and figuring out all the best ways to build that business, and then ultimately getting to a certain income way ahead of your living expenses, while at the same time living within your means. In other words, living the cheapest, having the cheapest apartment while you're making the most maximum amount of money. So not running out and buying the fancy car. I actually learned that lesson the hard way. I have been driving lots of nice cars. I spent a lot of money on cars, and I lost time and momentum in my ultimate vision. So a little word of wisdom is to live within your means as much as possible while maximizing your profitability. And of course, someone might say, hey, but I could use tax deductions and stuff like that. I could go out and buy a company car. I can go on a bunch of vacations. Well, again, getting back to celebrating your progress, I do advise you to go on some vacations here and there in between, let's say, 90-day increments of working extremely hard towards your current goals that work your way towards your ultimate vision, is to take a space of time where you can celebrate, where you can go on a vacation or take a break for a short period of time and then come right back again for another 90 days. But living within your means, you can have maximum amount of cash flow, and then in your blueprint towards your vision, knowing exactly what you're going to do, what your next step. You're going to invest that money. Let's say you're going to invest it into the S&P or the NASDAQ 100, into the index funds. So you could kind of grow your cash instead of having it sit in a savings account or checking account. So it can grow, and then from there, you know exactly what you're going to do with that capital in the next step. Maybe you're going to buy a fix and flip real estate property. Maybe you're going to buy a vacation rental, with Airbnb. So you're mapping that out, and you're knowing what you're going to do next. And then you're going to know how to expand. And then you're going to know how to set up your asset protection to protect yourself legally and being able to minimize taxation. So once you create this, this vortex of energy towards your vision, it really can't be stopped. And the more that you fortify it, knowing your blueprint, knowing your goals, being able to reverse engineer that to know exactly what steps to take, it makes you pretty much unstoppable. And as long as you've defined your vision, then you know exactly how you're moving towards it in that process. So the third hack is building momentum. You want to compound tiny daily actions. And with the compound effect, it's simply knowing what best actions there are to take. The best actions that you know that'll help you achieve your goals, and to show up every day and do those. And to constantly do those. And as you do those, you create that compound effect. And honestly, when it comes to achieving large success and building big wealth and everything like that, the most challenging moments are really at the beginning of the journey. So the beginning of the journey is where you're required to really, show up and expect the most out of yourself. Because down the road, then you could apply leverage, delegation, and that allows momentum really to take on a life of its own, where you're not day to day, pushing and pushing forward with actions and everything that you're doing individually by yourself. So building momentum at the beginning is enormous, and being able to compound daily actions is simply just repeating the same most important critical actions. This would be going to the gym regularly, exercising, eating healthy, in the moment choosing to be consistent by eating healthy regularly. Now, maybe on the weekend, if you want to cheat a little bit, you can. But what you've done on a week-to-week basis, at the end of 52 weeks, at the end of 1 year of constantly doing this, your body is extremely healthy. You have that much more energy. You could push forward. You could build momentum by doing that. And the same thing applies with different, techniques and formulas that you're using in your business, whether you're reaching out to leads, whether you're conducting extremely affordable advertising campaigns and watching the KPIs, watching the performance of those campaigns to assure that you can maximize a return on investment, or creating content, showing up every single day and making sure that you have enough content that's going out there as well. Just all of these different things that when you do them regularly, naturally, the compound effect kicks in and you start to achieve a rapid momentum towards your vision. So hack number 4 is the mind-body connection. And I kind of talked about it in the previous one about health, but what you want to do is maximize your energy, and a lot of that begins with sleep, and then it also goes with exercise. And what you want to do is you don't want to go to the gym 3 times a day, like some people say, oh, you got to go all the time. And then also people say, oh, you don't have to sleep. You really need to be motivated on your goals, and there's no time to sleep. So sleep and exercise in an organized way, an organized sleep routine, an organized exercise routine, consistently creates that compound effect, builds your energy, makes you look better in the mirror, and as a result of that, the world sees you as this really unstoppable force. And if you're sharing your product or service, you're making a content video, you're in an advertisement, people can see that energy that you're building, that you're compounding, and they buy into that because they want that too. And deep down, they don't realize yet the work that has to be put in, but it's not really work, because as you improve, you start to feel better and you want to keep getting better. And that's really what the mind-body connection is all about, because the more healthier you are physically, really, and as well with eating the right foods, then your brain is more healthier. It could function better. And hack number 5 is learning from mentors and models. So really learning from myself, learning from people that have been successful, achieved success, studying success, and being able to copy what already works. And so, in your whatever niche you're in and whatever, industry you're in, you want to study the people that are the most successful, and you want to emulate them. You don't copy them, but you emulate them, and you come from your own energy. And believe it or not, the world, your audience, your growing audience, is going to love you. They're going to know, and they're going to like, and they're going to trust you. And as a result of that, they see your authentic self. And that's one of the secrets of being able to succeed, by not just studying mentors and modeling successful people, but learning how to orchestrate your own authenticity, your own story, and your own ability to really translate the value that you want to deliver to your audience. So you want to spend 30 days of a successful jumpstart plan, and then you want to basically turn that into quick daily actions for acceleration. So map out the next 30 days by basically following these particular 5 hacks, right? So map it out, draw out the steps. First, write the hacks so you know exactly what you're going to be doing. And then from there, turn that into action steps, little daily actions that you could take to compound the results in your life. And you'll be really blown away if you dedicate to the process. The minimum dedication, 30 days is good for a jump start, but 90 days of dedicated, action to following these hacks, to taking action on them, to following the steps that I've covered in this video, in 90 days will put you into a position where you really can't be stopped. And then ultimately what you do then is you do celebrate a little bit. You do take a little time to just prepare and relax and reflect on what you've done, and now you know that you could do it again. And you do it again in the next 90 days. But in the next 90 days, you're coming from a foundation that's even stronger. You're coming from a momentum that you've already built. And now you're able to take that and leverage it into even more success. So to conclude, I just want you to use these 5 hacks to skyrocket your success. Nothing can hold you back. When you know exactly what you need to do and you do it, then nothing can stop you. So I invite you to subscribe to the channel, access more of these videos, and jump on that podcast and get subscribed over there too, so you could access the audio. So if you're commuting, or if you're in the car, or if you're exercising, whatever, and you don't have time to actually watch these lectures, you could listen to them on audio. Because what I've mentioned before is that the more you listen to this stuff, the more it sinks into your brain and turns you into a subconscious success from the standpoint of knowing all of these secrets, all of these strategies to build this foundation within your mind. So then you know ultimately there really is no alternative. because the alternative is going back to mundane, going back to average, going back to staying in that space of just getting by, being frustrated, getting intimidated by bills that come in every month. Whereas when you work with this system, following these hacks, and start taking action and start building out your vision, in fact, as a matter of fact, today, please write out your ultimate vision. Just the details of your ultimate vision. It could be 5 years from now, and just simply write it out. A day in the life of exactly how you live your life, what your habits are, the houses that you own, the vacations you go on, the cars you drive, the boats, the private planes if you like. Just write it all out. Don't be afraid to write it out, because you're going to give that to your mind, and now your mind's going to work on it while you also take the action based on these 5 hacks that we covered here. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in one of my next videos. I hope you have a great day. Take care.